Hello, hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you all, wherever you may be in the world. I hope you're well. I hope you are having a fantastic end of Friday if you're in Europe and Africa. And I really hope that you have some time for us. Please come join us. Let's talk about the changing times that we all are going through. But before we start this conversation, I must say, this amazing lady here, it's like we have an appointment every year. And the beauty of this lady you see today is she's always there to help each other, to help uplift people. And I will never be able to say thank you enough, Wani. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. What a lovely intro. I really appreciate that. And I mean, I can say the same thing about you as well too, and all the work that you're doing for the African diaspora. I would just like for humanity in general with your platform, and even with this new addition to what you've already been doing.
We need it. I mean, if we need to make the change, need to make a change in this world, we have to put in the time and the effort. And having people like you makes my life easy. I just need to call and you say yes. How awesome is that? So I have a feeling I can do have zillions of projects, but with people like you, it feels like it's just one project. So thank you for making my life easy.
Oh, you're so welcome. Anytime.
Thank you so much. Today's discussion or this new platform is all about speaking up against racism in a positive way because it doesn't help or it doesn't move the needle if we keep ourselves in that negative place with negative energy. So before we continue this live stream, I would really like each one of us to have a look, to think about this quote of the day, which reads, before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. Does this quote resonate with you?
You want my answer? You're asking the audience.
Your answer as well.
It does, and I think the preparation for becoming a leader is to actually work on yourself because I feel like how can you lead others if you yourself have not done the inner work and have the actual experience to actually showcase it to other people. So I think it's absolutely a necessity to do the work within your own self and then to be able to help other people and bring them along as well too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we all are here to make this possible for each one another. So let's just take a short break to introduce what this platform is all about, and then we'll be back again to answer a few questions and maybe support anyone who may have some questions, concerns, or worries.
Wow.
Yeah. How did
Beautiful. I love that.
how did we contribute to that? You know, when I wrote down the script, I had so much emotions, and every time I watch it, I still have that emotion still running through me. How did we contribute to that? And how can we make this world a better place in his absence? I really want everybody to sit with that question because we all will die one day. But like this, it's not the way to go. It's not what we want to show our children. This is not the legacy we want to leave. So my very first question to you is, what was your first reaction when you learned about the death of George Floyd?
Well, I first learned about it without seeing a video. And at that moment, sadly, it was just, okay, it's happened again, you know? And, I was still thinking about 2 weeks before about the death of Ahmaud Arbery. I don't know if you ever heard, if you remember him. This was the African American guy who was jogging in Atlanta, Georgia, and two white men just killed him because they suspected he was a burglar. He was just running.
Yeah, I think it's a father and a son or something like that.
Exactly, and that really touched my heart, and because it was so real for me. Because I have two brothers in the United States that are both runners, and one, my youngest brother particularly, every day he goes running, and he literally has to say a prayer like, "God, please don't let anything happen to me." And so for me, I was so thinking about that, and when I heard about George Floyd, it was just kind of like, wow, they go running. So I was still thinking about that. And when I heard about George Floyd, it was just kind of like same thing, different day type thing, right? Sadly, because that's really what it's been for the last 20 years in the United States. But when I watched the video, it became a much different experience for me where I was completely numb. It was unlike any other video because it was so graphic and so in your face and so intentional that you just could not, it just did something to you. And so for me, at that moment, I was just that I began to feel what then ensued was like the anger, the rioting, all with the inner, because I was like, oh my God. And then also it happened where I was born, and where most of my family lives. And so it was just at that point, I begin to think like, wow, the life of a black human being doesn't really count for anything in this country. And we're being shown that. And not to mention, you know, George Floyd was like the tip of the iceberg out of like three events that have been happening in the United States. So we had the Ahmaud Arbery in 1 week, or within less than two weeks. We had the Ahmaud Arbery where you have like regular citizens just using black men as target practice and killing him, right? Then we have Amy Cooper incident, the white woman in New York that clearly showed her white privilege and shown like what she thought she could. I mean, it was just so well presented as to what exactly what the white privilege is. And then you had George Floyd, and so it was just such a consecutive of events. And by at that moment, I mean, even now I'm getting heavy thinking
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Like I just feel my energy just shifted. At that point, it was a tipping point,
yeah, yeah,
and we saw what happened. Because of that.
yeah. It's shocking. I mean, when I heard about it, when I heard it on the news, it didn't touch me that much, I must confess, because I did not have any details. It's just one of those things that has been happening. But before, as you rightly said, there were many incidents, and I'm like, what is going on? Why do we have the repetition of the same thing? What is the world? What is the universe trying to show us, to expose? What is going on? But when I saw the images, that killed me. That killed me. I was paralyzed. I cried. I went through my own struggle of racism. It brought back everything, and I was like, so the life of a human being, be you black, Indian, or it doesn't matter, just like that, gone. So it was really, really a struggle for me. We all are going through these changing times. We question ourselves, we question each other, we question the person standing in front of you. You question your government, your country, your color, God, everything that you know of. How do we how does this show up for you in your day-to-day life? For me, it's even though I'm trying to play the neutral game, it's like you keep seeing the evidence. Things keep popping in front of your face. How is it showing up for you in your day-to-day life?
For me, my day to day life, it's showing up in the sense of I'm having so many French people apologize to me for the actions of the United States, right? And then it's showing up for me on social media where I'm clearly seeing fake allyship. I'm just going to be quite real. You
Yes.
know, I see there's so many opportunists of people that are not care about Black Lives Matter, and it's all about everyone's using it as a prop to build their business, right? And
Yes.
energy doesn't lie, and I have been calling people out because here's the thing, right? Last week my Facebook was completely filled with all of these, allies that were all about Black Lives Matter. This week, no one's talking about it. 5 men, black men, were hung in the United States this week. When I woke up on Monday, that was what the headlines were. They were ruled as suicide, which is complete crap. No one's talking about it anymore. So it just shows you the disingenuous of this fake allyship and what's really
Yes.
happening. And I can tell you that all of the companies that are all coming out and that are making statements, right? They're just statements. And everyone is just so caught up in the distraction of we oppose blah blah blah. And it's just like who anyone can make a statement.
Yes.
Are you
Yeah.
changing your mind? Are you changing your hearts? Like who's on your board of directors? I mean, who are you hiring your people? And the people that you have that are people of color, can they be themselves in your organization? So for me, it's showing up for me where I'm coming at it from, I like to say from an objective point of view, from an attorney's point of view, from a real point of view. I'm like, I'm not going to be completely bamboozled or fooled with the fake, we are for Black Lives Matter, because I can clearly see from a corporate standpoint that it's good business to say that at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm just being real.
Yeah. And you're perfectly right. I mean, people are using it now as a marketing tool.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the danger of it is using it as a marketing tool when you really don't care. You're even more dangerous than somebody who killed someone on the street because you have facts and figures and you're using it against the people who need it the most.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, have you
So,
suffered from racism yourself? And how did you deal with this situation?
well, when I remember when I said you'll be shocked at my answer, this is what I meant. I personally have not experienced racism from white people. So my background is I'm American. My parents are Liberian, and so I didn't grow up. And my parents both my father's remarried, and both of my parents both live in predominantly large Liberian populations of the United States. My dad is in Minneapolis, and most of my brothers, and my mom is in Houston, where those are two. And they both pretty much stay within the Liberian community. They're interacting with American people or other people. It's when they go to work, right? I say that to say that I did not grow up hearing like most Black American people hearing, you know, the racist, the racial rhetoric of blaming white people. It's just for us. Everyone's Liberian. There's no light and dark. We just don't quite have that, right? But what I would tell you that the racism I experienced were from Black American people teasing me because I was born in the U.S. and then at 1 years old, I went to Liberia with my father, and I was coming back and forth to visit my mother in the summers. But between eight and nine, I moved back to the U.S. and I was there permanently. And I was, coming with my thick Liberian accent, and trying to assimilate back into American culture. And I was teased and by Black American people. And my other sense of racism has been from Latin people. I actually live in Spain, and so I experienced a lot of them from there, where I would go to restaurants, they would tell me they were closed, or if people shook my hands, they would like wipe it on their hands or their arms or whatever. That was hard because I was very young at the time. I was 22 and I was studying law in law school there. So that was really, really hard. And then later on, and then like as a child, I mean, it just was like I wasn't accepted by Black people. That was very difficult to actually like to stomach. I didn't really, the people that I thought were more accepting of me were white people. They were intrigued the fact that I was African, I had this accent and the way I dress. And so it was a little bit different for me in the terms of my story or my experience is not direct racism like that. However, I'm not blind to the fact to see what's happening for other people. Not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
And I'm well aware of it, even here in France, you know.
yeah, yeah. I am happy about your response. And that is the whole point of this platform. Not to say what people want us to say, but to say what we're really experiencing and speak the truth. There is racism in all culture. In the African culture, you have even more racism than in the white. More, for me, I think the black people are more racist to themselves than the white people are racist to you because they are conscious or maybe careful. But the way we black people even treat the white people, the fact that no one is killed yet, morally they've been killed. But we're not coming out honestly. The way the Indians treat the black people is even worse. The way the South Americans also treat the black people is even worse. So we are naive. Okay, I agree to the fact that yes, something bad happened and it's been going on for a long time. But this is the time to talk about all sorts of racism and those racism that will try to, sweep under the carpet. So I really see your point. I understand completely that, sometimes it's even within the family or within your community more than outside because it's the same for me. I have it on both sides. So I completely agree with you that racism does exist within our community itself.
Yes.
So
Yes.
many people are looking up to you as a lawyer and leader. Where do you get your strength and resilience from? Because you are doing a lot. What adversity gifted you such strength? How did you get here? Because I really admire your work, the way you put your words. I know you're a lawyer, you have that, that background, but there is some kind of clarity and resilience that we can really pick from your writing, your work, and your advice.
I come from a school of thought where I think as Black people, African people, people of color, we've been through so much. And I think it's that has just built up our resilience, right? Like I'll give you for with COVID, right? COVID does not land with me at all. It just doesn't land with me, Not because I know I'm healthy. I've been taking care of myself. When the lockdown happened, my biggest concern was my father, who was really he's sick, and him going to the hospital. And then my mom is a nurse. She's a nurse in a nursing home, so very elderly people, and so I was concerned about them, right? When I remember when everything happened, when I first started, I called my dad because he was going to the hospital every day, and I asked him. I was very concerned, and my father was like, "I'm not concerned about that." He said, "Me, an African man, I lived the most gruesome Liberian civil war in the history of civil wars in Liberia. You think I'm going to fear some virus that I can take a cold medicine?" When my father said that, like, what am I worried about? And that's the point where you're saying about the resilience. He
Yeah.
started talking about how my grandmother, who I'm named after, sold rocks for my father to go to school. My father was former minister of finance for Liberia. I mean, and so it's like this pedigree of our family and the way we work so hard. So it was like for me, it's just this thing like this is what we do,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's why I tell people it's we're used to just being the underdog. We're used to just working, where the opportunities are not readily available for us, and so it's like you have to try harder, right? So I think for us, it's just natural. It doesn't matter have to work at.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to have a boss who kept saying to me, Lillian, blacks don't crack. I never understood what he
Yeah,
meant. But with time, I'm like, what is that? Blacks don't crack, But with time, I think he's right because of such torture, pain, hardship that we've gone through. It becomes almost like a lifestyle. And you don't call it strength anymore. You don't call it courage anymore. You don't call it resilience. It's just one of those things.
yeah. I mean, you said it right. We get tired, but we don't crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
His own. And I also think too, because the fact that for all of us, generations of generation of religion and Christianity and just belief in God, and and it's like that's what, like, I come from a very religious family. Like both sides of my grandparents were very well known preachers and healers, in the community. I mean, my mom is fast; she fasts like every day. I mean, there's some type of she's praying is like an hour. So I also think too, our strong faith in God really carries us as well too. And so our parents, they pass it on to us. Our churches, our communities, our community leaders, and it gets passed on as well too. So
And as a woman of color, what valuable lesson did your parents teach you that led you to be the woman that you are today?
what was the beginning part of the question?
As a woman of color, what valuable
Uh-huh.
lesson did your parents teach you that led to the woman that you are today?
Oh my God, to be independent. To be independent, make your own money, to have your own education, just to take care of yourself and not to be dependent upon anybody. Not to mean like you don't ask for help, but you're never a crutch to anyone. And so that's why they instilled the value of education within me at a very young age. And so I've always been very studious. But for me, yeah, it's definitely been independence and to be able to provide for yourself.
And that, you see, gradually it ties up. When I was preparing these questions, it's like one thing that rose over the other. It ties up. Looking at the education that you've had from your parents, that led you to the resilience and being the lady that you are today. So we must say thank you to them in a way, and thank you to the hardship that we went through. It's serving its purpose today, right?
It is, yeah. I was talking to a new client of mine yesterday in the UK. She's a white female. We're just talking about the whole COVID thing, and I was just like, we're talking about the whole divisiveness of those that are in fear and those that are not. And I was just like, and we're talking about. She seems like from a color perspective, it's like she's like, no black people that I know are really afraid of this disease. I'm just like, we're just, again, it's back to the resilience, and I was saying to her, I was like, most people are in fear. I go, we're not in fear. We're allowed to be in fear because of what we've been through. And I was like, you're talking about 400 years of slavery, of enslavement, of never having been seen as a full citizen, of not even being able to, even to this day, like women are not even making the same as men, or blacks are not making the same as as white counterparts. It's like it's been systemic and it's been ongoing, and it's like you don't go through that and be a weakling.
Exactly,
You just
exactly.
don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it becomes one of those things. However, if you look at the statistics, especially in the US, those affected are the Black people. How do we explain this with the COVID, for example?
Hmm.
How do we explain
You're gonna go in and out, Lillian. I don't know if you realize. That's why I'm having heart trouble.
it? I said,
Like now,
but
I can't hear you.
okay, looking at the statistics on COVID in the US, most people affected are Black people. How do we explain this? She's frozen.
You said more black people are have COVID.
More Black people are affected by the COVID.
Have COVID.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying? More black people have COVID.
yeah.
I don't personally. I don't trust any numbers that's coming. See the World Health Organization, the UN, none of it. They're all, if you look at if you follow the money, you'll see who all owns all that. It's the Bill Gates, it's the Warren Buffetts, it's the George Soros. It's like all of these global elites that have a different agenda. So for me, and I can tell you there's been so much evidence right now of actual doctors coming out and actually showing the fraud that's been going on in hospitals. I mean, these days no one dies of anything else other than COVID. So? What happened to cancer? Like nobody dies of cancer. Like if you sneeze and you pass out, you die. Your death certificate is going to say it's COVID. So it's like I don't trust any numbers coming out of the United States. I just don't.
Great.
But that's beyond this conversation.
Exactly. That's beyond our decision for the moment. So Africans, Black Americans, Caucasians,
Yes.
to name a few, are angry, but most of all disappointed given the situation, how do we find inner courage to lead when you are treated as unwanted citizen?
For me, I share with people is that you have to have like your dignity. Like you have to maintain your dignity no matter what, and you really have to ground yourself in spirituality in your faith, whatever that is. I
Mm,
happen to come from a spiritual background, and it's like and knowing who you are and having a sense that you are, because you have to become like Teflon and not let outside people affect you and
yeah,
how you move through the world. And so I would say, are you allowed to be tired? Are you allowed to be exhausted? Are you allowed to be angry? Absolutely. Are you allowed to take away from your friend? I'll give you an example. My inbox, when everything was happening, I was having so many people, like about 50, there's 50 inbox or messages from non-black people and a few black people wanting to talk, and wanting to help me, help me or have me to help them unpack racism. At that point, it became like a boundary issue. And I was just like, I don't have the energy to really come and teach you about racism at this point. That's your responsibility. You know what I mean? And so
yeah,
I found myself like, no, I don't have to be invited to every party that I'm actually invited into,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
of like who you are and yourself in that, and just like, and I will also say too, it's time to speak up. More people are afraid of speaking their minds because they're afraid of like losing followers, or they're afraid of losing like clients. I'm like, who cares? You would have so much liberty or so much things that are actually coming to you for you when you start to speak up, because right now everybody looks the same. Everyone's like Black Lives Matter and they're fake. I mean, I'm just gonna just be real about it. Like we said, talking to, but very few people, and those voices that are out there that are sharing their truth. If
yeah,
it doesn't, if especially if that does not go along with the narrative, but everybody can feel the truth of it, you're going to the attention or the of other the actually willing to listen, where the real change will actually be taking place. And so I was like, yeah, be able to speak up. This is not a time, I did not participate in the Blackout Tuesday. I didn't black out my Facebook profile. In fact, that was the day I came out blazing. I was promoting, I was selling, and I was celebrating. I was like, this is not a time for black people to be quiet. It's not. It's a time for us to speak up and to speak out and to show out.
exactly, exactly. I did not black out. I said I was going to take action in a different way, and then I started creating this platform. So that's my own. I will keep blacking out until I can talk no more, but in a positive way, because because we have families in both sides. Said before, there is racism among the black people themselves. There are black people that are racist to the white people. Okay, no one is killed yet, but there is racism in both cases. So I refuse to take stand. Of course, this does not justify what happened, but we must pick up to clarify that there are really, really good people out there who want the best of all race on earth. That's the whole reason for this platform. So, what do you think is
Yeah.
one valuable lesson that we need to learn from this racial discrimination?
First of all, there no matter what is happening, and this is coming from a perspective that some people may not quite understand, but there's a great awakening, a spiritual awakening that's actually happening. That's why all these things are actually coming up. And I'll share with you that one of what is happening on a macro level, on a global level, is also happening with us on an individual level, right? As you quite succinctly pointed out, there is racism within our own communities, and even worse
Yes.
ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that's highlighted is the injustice, right? And so we need to ask ourselves, where am I being unjust, serving my own self injustice? For example, if you're struggling in life, if you're living in environment, that's an injustice to you. and it's manifesting at a, in your life in certain ways where you may not be able to pay bills, or you may not be in a relationship, or you may not feel good about yourself, but then at a macro level, okay, it's showing up as jobs being taken away, or or in this case, what's happening in the United States or everywhere. It's like black people being killed, but we're also killing ourselves too in the United States. Let's just be real. It's not just policemen that are actually killing black lives. It's like, you know what? There's a lot of, look at the south side of Chicago. Look at, in LA, with all the gangs. It's like we're killing ourselves too. So it's like, we all have to see what is in all of this, because that's how we're all going to clear. Yes, they have work to do as well too. The oppressors, the slave masters, and they need to come forth and, what, give back what was actually stolen. Like you're looking at a museum, talk about the looting. Everyone was all about the. I'm like, hello, what's a museum? It's a prime example of what looting was been. The Europeans took all the artwork and all, the sculptures from African cultures, and they put it up in a museum or from different places. So it's like, what I'm saying is that we all have to recognize in all of this soup, we all have played a part in all of it. And when we can actually look within ourselves and say, okay, you know what? I'm part of this creation of, this injustice at some level, because that's the only reason why it's happening. Whether we're doing it to, if it's on a personalized, go to black people, to each other, we're not, are out jealous of each other, or we're cutting each other. I mean, it's all, it's like a coin, like a, whether it's heads or tail, it's the same. It's the same thing. And I realize that's a very philosophical, grandiose, but for me, that's one of the things when things were going on. I had to take a back from the social media because it was quite heavy, and I was like, universe, grace, God, like, okay, what's my part in all of this as an oppressor? Where have I been? Where have I served injustice to other people?
Exactly, exactly. We all contributed to this one way or the other. We contributed to this. However, you and I, or the population right now, we're talking to the wrong people. We are talking to the wrong. So we might as well start speaking some sense amongst ourselves rather than carrying the hate from our great grandparents. These are the consequences of their act. And we are talking to the wrong people. We all are suffering in this. We all are going through these difficult times. So I think it's important for us to change our language. Racism does exist in all races. We need to change our language. We need to change how we start perceiving ourselves. On social media, I get questions, or people write things like, do you feel as though this continent is so racist? How do you react with racism? And I wrote one line. I said, I don't go around walking the street thinking I'm a black woman. I walk the streets because there are streets. My very first reaction is not, oh, this black woman is walking the street. So I don't see it that way. So if somebody is trying to, you really have to put the racism in front of me for me to react, because I won't even smell it, because I walk the streets because they're streets. So, and I went further saying, you know what? In Africa, white people are called white. And in Europe, but black people are called, or in America, they're called black people. Now, the interpretation can be very different on how it's been pronounced. If you walk in a building, into a shop, and somebody directly say to you, your skin color, we don't serve you, we're closed, that's racism. It's a different thing. But just walking the streets thinking you're a poor black woman or you're a black woman, it doesn't exist for me. It doesn't really exist. So I think it's important that we consider how we are contributing to this, because your attitude to the other person changes 50% of the problem.
I wholeheartedly agree with you 1,000%. It's how you identify yourself and your self perception that's contributing well too. I agree with you. I don't look at myself as a black woman at all.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't. It's and
exactly.
to refuse interject myself in in the conversations where you're putting yourself to be in that energy, because I think part of our work as black people needs to start, like you said, changing our language, changing our perception.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because what you know, like attracts like, right? I mean, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, it's what you're going to experience, right? If you're going to keep looking for, I'm a black person and they did this to me, it's like you go into experience, you know. But if you think that if it's your completely, I'm just here. I'm here to experience life, and I'm crossing the street because it's whatever. I mean, that's when you go into experience. So, I think a lot of it, at the end of the day, I always feel like it's self responsibility. Has to it starts and ends with you.
Absolutely. I will give you another example of racism and how it's been pronounced. We were in a party, me, my husband, in a party, and this nice lady walked up to me and she said, "Oh, hi, how are you?" She was really nice. And she said to me, "How did you get here?" So I just turned back and looked at her and I said, "By plane." And she looked at me, she said, and she said, "I wasn't expecting that answer." Then I said to her, "But you said, how did I get here?" "I got here by plane." And she repeated herself. She said, "How did you get from Africa to here?" And I repeated my answer. I said, "I got here by plane."
I love it.
End of discussion. And we were friends afterwards. We still talk about food and everything. But the fact that she had made a decision to come to me to talk about race and my continent and my whatever, thinking I'm poor and maybe I'm now in this bright and most marvelous situation. She wanted to hear my story. That conversation ended in a nice way. We spoke about food, but we never went back to my country and how I got here again. I came by plane. That's it.
I love That's classic.
So
Love
it's
it.
how you
Love
carry
it.
yourself, how you respond. Sometimes it's difficult to react because the questions are really shocking. Also in the school, they say, "Why are your kids in this school?" And I'm like, "It's a school like any other. What do you want me to say?" You know, it's
Yeah, you're not expecting it. Just comes out of left field. You're like, you're quick on your feet.
exactly. So now
Got it.
let's talk about changes. If you could change one thing today with this current situation, what would it be?
You know, one of my visualizations and my wish for the world really is for everyone to be a millionaire, because at the heart of it all is not the political, the economic divide, and the looting is what you that what was okay. We do, we have infiltrators, right? But the people that were in there, the targets and stealing the clothes and everything, what you saw was just like the economic divide in the United States, probably globally too, right? And so for me, if I could change one thing, it would probably to educate people, everyone about, or about financial wealth consciousness, so that we can just be on a much, much better economic playing field. For me, the money is where it's at. It's just it's what rules the world, is what's ruling the world, and it's like the gap between the haves and the have-nots, and we're here, and it's just getting bigger. It's just so grave. And so whether it's bringing the education that's not trickling down here, because it's a system that's how it keeps everything circulating. I remember after COVID, I posted an article from Forbes where it talked about the world top billionaire of how much money they had made during the 2 months of lockdown with Mark Zuckerberg, right? And I said, while everybody was on TikTok doing stupid dance moves and doing stupid dance challenges, this is what was happening. And I was pointing it out. I was just like, people have to wake up and see what's really going on. So for me, it would be to impart for everybody to be a millionaire and to really have their money together and have money and have true wealth and have access. And
Absolutely.
it's through education. My brother and I were just talking where, he's come to a realization that, at least in the United States, going a college education is it's probably worthless at the moment. You know what I mean? Because at this and it's like, what really the one thing that you need to know, they don't teach you in school, which is how to make money.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't I mean,
I completely agree.
nobody teaches you how to make, like, whether you went to Harvard, whether you went to Yale, like there is no class that is taught that teaches you how to make the one thing you need to know how to do in life. There is a single class that actually teaches you that. Why is that? And so it's part of this it's part of the systemic institutionalized racism to keep a certain people where they're at. And so for me, what I want to change is for everybody, for people of color, to really get the wealth, get the information that we're lacking, so we can stop being consumers, and really, think about gaining assets, and play the game as well too.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm happy you also brought that point. Let's not forget how racism started. It's all a financial game. It's all about the money. And when I talk to people about race and what's going on, it's not so much about skin color. It's about the poverty that comes with a certain skin color. So you may have the skin color like you and I. If you're educated, you're financially stable, you're living in a different environment with different neighbors, the treatment is different. The acceptance is different. You're treated differently, you're welcomed differently, you're regarded differently, and you're respected differently than somebody who is not in that same. So, bottom line of this all, it's a financial problem. That it's not really the skin color, because skin color is just nothing. It's what comes with it. That's the problem.
Absolutely, and I will also add too that the emphasis on skin color is a distraction from the main issue.
Yeah,
And right now, there are so many distractions in the world to take the attention off of what's really going on, because, more of behind the scenes, the powers to be, the 1% are all getting super wealthy. What's happening? All the middle class, I mean, 50 million people are unemployed in the United States right now. All the mom and pops, all of the like, it's gone. And so people have to realize that, what, it's an economic issue. It's about poverty, about skin color.
yeah, yeah.
And it's about
So,
the disenfranchisement of a
yeah,
sector of the population.
yeah. So I will really advise, for me, one thing is to, that's why I keep doing what I do, to uplift the black people, especially the women, because they are really the backbone of this all. Get yourself education, some education. Get yourself some financial freedom, because at the bottom of it all, it's linked to a financial situation. If we had more, if we could take care of ourselves, if we did not have to beg, then people would treat us differently. So my wish is to change the way we look at education, the way we look at money, so that we can change this bias that's going on against the race, against black people. Now, my next question is a difficult one.
Absolutely.
I know
Okay.
there's lots of
Ready?
contradictions around this, but we shall speak the truth. And I hope many people will feel comfortable looking at this question. There are lots of contradictions on who George Floyd was and the life he lived. Let me hold it at that point. We know now he had drug problems. We know he was high at that moment. We know. We know all of these things. We see all the information. I don't know if it's true or not. Now, those are things which are being used as justification. But does that justify his killing?
You know, um, I wasn't the least bit surprised when those things started to come up. I mean, this is what we're seeing is playbook. What's happening in the United States. I mean, this stuff's happened all the time, right? Where if it's a black man, there all his history always comes out, right?
mm, mm, mm,
Which is
mm.
completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. And I will also say too that a lot of people, I really encourage everyone to stop looking at mainstream media about this case and to actually look for for real news, right? Because I was sharing with you, for example, when that officer was allegedly charged, and everybody was gloating on Facebook about it, and there was no video. There has not been a video whatsoever showing those officers getting charged or getting or being getting to jail. And the one picture that was actually circulating, it's two different people. And so I would say to people that, this case has, look what it's instigating around the world. I mean, everywhere is actually protesting, right? There has never been a case in the United States where a police officer has been actually convicted of first degree murder. This is like at the highest of the highest of the highest um, criminal case. And so the thing in the United States system is like the people that are trying to case or doing the arresting, they're all in that together. So there's going to be no such thing as a fair trial, right? And so we have to remain vigilant about really what's going on. We have the autopsy report where there's two different schools of thought. For example, the DA, the person for the state that did the autopsy, that gave this book, this very colorful, flowery report of what the alleged death was, right? And essentially, to me, it's kind of like saying, okay, Jesus, even though he was nailed on a cross and had 1,000 crowns, he died of a heart attack. That's what the autopsy report essentially said. And so we have to ask of why we have envisioned, but to get to your question, it has nothing to do, even if he killed 20 people, what happened at that moment did not justify his death.
No,
It didn't,
no, it doesn't.
and there's so many, yeah, and things, there are so many, I have so many this in this case. That's why I stopped posting about it and it's like people are not paying attention to really what's really going on. And it's like they're just distracted and there's so many things going on. There still hasn't been a video of this guy. They haven't been to court yet. It's like, hello, what's going on? So I know, thank God that the riots have stopped, because of course people were getting hurt and all of that. But it's like the work is just beginning. It's like we're not in a clear just yet, and people should not be satisfied until you have a conviction of a first degree murder charge.
Exactly. Some of the
Which is
posts you wrote about this, I think there's also an American who made a video and people were so upset or not upset, whatever position they take, that's fine. To me, this question is twofold. There are many people being killed by the police officers worldwide when they're in drugs and all this stuff. Unfortunately, into my mind, unfortunately at that time, if he was high, maybe that's really speed the process of his death, which is rather unfortunate. However, no one owns the right to kill somebody on this earth. If he is a criminal, he should be judged and punished for it. That's a completely different subject. So I do not see how his life played a role of you killing him at that time in that manner. Those are two different things.
right.
He had a life which was not decent, should have been punished one way or the other, like anybody else. But if we think of it in that context, did that also speed the death of this guy in that moment? Was it really also just a matter of coincidence, which is not justified? I'm not trying to make any excuses on either side. Again, no one has the right to take the life of another human being. No one. Is it?
Correct.
Is it? I feel for both, but as we also know, we know the officer had already several cases. He had done several of these attempts. This was not the first attempt that he had on Black people. So it's something that is very common, with this particular particular police. Again, it's still leading to a financial problem. When you're a drug addict, when you're holding people down with guns and pregnant women and all the rest, it's a financial problem. It's a, we are pushing ourselves to the same, to the ground over and over, making ourselves vulnerable because of financial issues. Because if this guy will had a better situation, okay, they are very rich drug dealers. You will not find yourself in this situation. But that does not excuse
Correct. Yeah.
someone killing another person.
100%. Exactly.
So right now, we have more problems to deal with. We have people rioting. We have people losing. What can we say to those using this situation to destroy and loot?
God, uh, that's a tough one because I understand why they're doing it. And I would say that I know in their mind they feel that that's the only way that they can actually get something in life, and that and I would say first of all, I'm the system actually. Trevor Noah talked about this, right? Talked about the social contracts in the United States that have been broken. The system is just completely
Yes.
broken for Black people, and they feel like they can't get. That's the only way for them to actually get what's being portrayed in our faces every single day, the TVs, the Nikes, and and the whatevers, right? What I would say is that at the end of the day, it's like we have to educate ourselves. We have to go beyond what's really happening. And I know it's hard when you're in situations or when you're in communities where it's a generational from generational thing. Everyone's in drug infested neighborhoods, everyone's in crime, and you only get out because for some miracle, like something happens, right? And you get out of it. But this day and age too, it's like there's the internet, right? There's so much access to actual education, and we just have to, the way out of it is to educate ourselves financially, and to change our beliefs and actually learn about money, because like I'm with you, it's 100%, it's a financial issue, and yeah, you have gotten the TV and the this, you're still broke.
Yeah, yeah.
The
It's a,
riots are over. Okay, you got the heat. It's like, okay, you're still broke. You're still searching for money, and so it's like, we have to understand that it can't be this like rat race. And it has to change. Something has to change within here. But I also recognize too that that knowledge is not available for people to actually become aware of that, because I can tell you for myself, it wasn't like on a spiritual journey where I became aware of limiting beliefs and how we create our reality, and higher spiritual knowledge, where I was like, oh my God, like I can actually create, manifest whatever I want. And so we have to find our ways within start seeing ourselves right now, our kids, to the information, like to gather the information to become financially free, and so and as in the future.
yeah, yeah. I completely agree with you.
It's late, it's hard. Yeah.
It's difficult.
Because
I'm
I
listening.
was gonna say, like, my teacher from my teacher one day said that it's hard to teach a hungry man to meditate. When you're in survival mode, you're not thinking about higher awareness. You're thinking about how am I gonna eat tonight, right? So it's like it's such a tough situation, and there's layers to it. There's really layers, and when you're literally hungry, when you're starving, not knowing where you're gonna, like, the next meal is gonna come from, access and higher knowledge is not quite, you're not thinking about that. And I would say that I think right now that it's the great thing what we're seeing. We have the millennials that are on the streets protesting, right? So it's like there's hope for humanity, or there's hope for future generations where they're not buying the narrative anymore. you know
I would say to those, rioting, It's a good thing to riot, that people can hear your point of view. However, to loot, you're proving the white people right again, because no normal person. I understand the difficulty that people are going through, but if we're going to destroy, thinking there's insurance behind to build, who are we destroying? The rich ones or the ones who are struggling? We are destroying ourselves. Is this right? So you and I, in normal cases, will not go break a store to get a TV, to get things out for ourselves. We wouldn't do that because we're on a different level, different energy.
Right.
And it's our responsibility to uplift these people. I get the point. You know, People really have to strike, go out there and express their views. And I'm so grateful for all the whites, the Asians, all those who came out to show their solidarity. This is the world we want to see. This is the world that we should be building on. But destroying other people's hard work, insurances are not going to reimburse everything. They won't reimburse 100%. So we are making those who are struggling, we are making them to struggle even more. And to me, this is not right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, and it was sad to look at, and it's sad each time it actually happens, and of course it's a reflection of all of us. It's
Yeah,
a small group that's doing it, and it's a reflection of from all of us, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
or yeah,
It's a lesson for all of us.
that was is a light.
Exactly. What's your dream for this world?
What's my dream for the world?
Yeah.
Ah, my God. My dream for the world is, first of all, for there to be peace, for there to be sovereignty, because from an individual level, and then to to a state or governmental, because what's happening is, as we talked about, no one really feels free. No one really is free. People feel enslaved, whether it's to a job, to a relationship, and it's like it's for everybody to feel free, because when you feel free, you can do whatever you want. You can create what you want. And for me, one of my my core values is freedom. Is the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. And that's what I want because, and I think at the core of all of our values is what we're all searching for. I think it's why we all are working hard while we go to school. We study. We do the things we're supposed to be doing, is to create a certain lives for ourselves. So, my main message has been to live the life that we really want. And in order for us to really have that, we've got to have freedom. We have to feel free within ourselves. So that's why I wish and for everyone to be a millionaire, multi-millionaire, and for money to be, circulating for everybody as freely as it's meant to be, and not for just a specific population or sector of the population, because the disparity is just, it's too much, and we're seeing like what happens when, because of it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So, and
So for
for
you,
us to see everybody, people to see everybody as yourself, because it's the truth. I'm looking at you right now, I'm talking to myself, you're talking to yourself. It's like we're all one, we're all the same, and we're all on this reality of like playing out consciousness, appearing to look different. And it's like what you're doing to others, you're doing to yourself. And so when we begin to recognize that, I am truly my brother and sister's keeper, it's like it's a whole different meaning of life, and and I'm American, so we think we just have a super positive purview, and I still hold on to it, and I see that. So, but I also realize, what's happening to, you know, before there's lots of chaos, right? Before there's lots of, I feel like what's really happening is that on a spiritual level, it's like it's time for the U.S. to actually face this. because it's like everything starts with us, and then it trickles on to the rest of Europe and the United States, right? It's like, okay, the reason why people are into treating black people bad because they saw it in the United States, right? And so, but I feel like it's a time for us to really heal this issue, specifically within the United States.
Exactly, exactly. We all need it. We all need it. And my dream for this world is that we each one of us should find inner peace, because when we get that inner peace, we are able to treat people differently. But when there is no inner peace, you find excuses to the nonsense that you do. So I hope that we will come from a place of peace for ourselves, with ourselves, so we are able to give to others. So tell me,
And
you have a yes,
huh?
I'm listening. Yeah.
No, I just want to say that, I really feel that, we're on the way to that, even though it looks chaotic as hell, but I really feel that we're on our way there because, I mean, at this point, it's so egregious what's happening, and it's like, this cannot be happening for not a greater cause. And I really wholeheartedly believe that's where it is. And it's like, you know what? It's time. And I think we will get there.
I'm positive too. I'm positive this is for a reason, and something good is really going to come out. We see it, we see it already. It's happening. So there is no, if you look at the riots, it's already there. Even though we were supposed to stay home, people were still there celebrating with one another. So change it's on its way, and that peace is on its way. So we have to keep, wishing it for ourselves so that we can then help others with that. Tell me,
Yes.
where does inspiration meet law in all of this?
Wow, it means it's my latest baby, my latest kid, and it's really the premier law center to help entrepreneurs, heart-centered business owners, and coaches to get legal protection for the business. Right now, entrepreneurship is a new gold rush. Everybody with COVID, everyone has to have to be able to really move into the next decade. What we're seeing is that everyone has to have some type of e-commerce component to their business, right? If you've been working for a corporation, you don't know what's going to happen. So we have so many entrepreneurs that are out here that have businesses, but they don't have the legal protection for the business. So what we do is we provide do-it-yourself legal contract templates for different, and they're curated or coutured legal bundles. So for example, we've got over 20 bundles, like one for business coaches, one for online businesses, or one for health awareness coaches, one for graphic designers. These are all the essential uh, legal templates or legal documents that you need. Like for example, for your website, you must have a terms and conditions for your website. You must have a privacy policy that must be GDPR compliant, which comes from Europe. You must have a disclaimer. If you're a coach and you are working on a one client, you need to have a one-on-one client agreement. In order for you to use someone's testimony or use their photos, you need to have a photo release form. If you are working with a VA, you need a virtual assistant agreement. So we provide all the different legal templates for entrepreneurs to have all of their contract needs met, so they can have equal footing, or so they can feel safe within a business operating and not be exposed to legal liability.
And this is international, or is just for European
It
business?
is. So it's the way it's international for everyone. And so, but obviously, I'm a U.S. based lawyer, even though I'm here in France. But my education has been both in Europe for law and for the United States. But the way that I've written it, it's been, you're inputting your information in there, all the legal jargon that you need at the very minimum. Is in there for you to have protection in there. So, but it's for anyone, that can read English, because it's only in English. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's something we tend to overlook in our businesses, I must confess. And it could get one to into big trouble. So people like you, your packages, yeah, we should seriously think of it because we need to have the policies in order to protect ourselves.
Yeah, and I come from a corporate background. I mean, I've been a lawyer for 17 years. I've been working strictly with big corporations and with like, I worked with Visa, with MasterCard, and that's in-house counsel, as Office Depot. And I've always worked with public traded companies, and corporations get the importance of lawyers. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, for them, they just completely do without lawyers, and they only seek a lawyer's help when something goes wrong. I'll give you an
Yeah.
example. Like today, I was tagged in a Facebook post in a group where a woman, a photographer, had her photograph stolen by a celebrity, and the celebrity was using it on their artwork, and they're going to make like $40,000 from it. And so she was asking, like, she went on Facebook asking for legal advice, and I was like, no, and people were saying to her, you need to send a cease and desist letter, but without a lawyer. And I was like, no, this woman needs to go see a lawyer right now. A hearing needs to be filed, and she needs to be in a courtroom like next week. So it's my passion to really bring the law to the people who needs it the most, which are entrepreneurs that are literally having heart-centered businesses, but they're just running the business like completely naked, completely exposed, and they end up losing. And so that's the main purpose behind it. It's bringing consciousness, spirituality with the law, and helping that in that particular group of people, of business people.
Yeah, you're much needed, especially now. And now that most businesses are online, yes, yes, your services are much needed. And I will be in touch on that because we have to build something as well for our nonprofit. And with this, that's coming up. So yes, I will keep in touch. Thank you so much for your time.
Definitely.
I will be needing you, not only for the legal issue, but I know you have a big heart to uplift coaches. So I will call on you again if you don't mind. We are going to have a panel discussion on this subject again. So please, I know you always say yes, but please, you are needed. You are really needed.
Of course, you have to ask. I mean, for you, it's literally okay. Let's just figure out the date. That's all you gotta know.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I really
So,
appreciate. And I really, really wish you the very best. Let it rain, in Paris, let it rain. And you know what I mean? Let it rain. Let it pour. We don't care.
yes. Thank you so much for everybody who's tuned in live, and anyone that's tuning in the replay. If you have any questions, please feel to contact me. And yes, however I can do to help support you, Lillian, please. It's like, come on, it's not even like it's a yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate. And I've shared your links out there to anybody who might need you. But of course, I need you because we have to work on this on the policy as well. So thank you so much already for that, and thank you in advance for all the support that you will be providing for us, and also your money abundance live stream that we did with Awiv. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
That was such a
I
jam.
do,
I
yeah.
remember there's a lady who called me and said, "Who is this lady?" And I said, "You better go and ask her yourself. I'm not defending you. Go yourself." So yeah, thank you so much, and I do wish you a great evening back in Paris.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
So that was it for today. I hope you found some value from this live stream. We are here to support you. We are here to uplift you. Come speak thy truth. If you need help in any way, if you need to speak, just message us. We are working on things. We're going to be working on our website. We are still working on the logo because this is very new, but this is your platform. Come anytime. Tell us what your worries are. Let us know how we can help you. And if you have time to donate, please come help build this new movement in a positive way, of course. Thank you so much. And I'll catch you in the next live stream on Sunday. Thank you. Bye bye.